Chapter 1551. I know you are not weak, but I just can't bear to lay a hand on you. Cole gave a helpless and bitter smile. He shook his head in self-mockery and said, "Think about it yourself. In those moments when you hated me, did I ever hurt you at all?" Indeed, no matter how many things Cole had done to make Gu Mingming gnash her teeth in hatred, he had never laid a finger on her. Gu Mingming clenched her fists and growled coldly, "You hurt the people I care about, so why don't you just hit me?" Cole coughed again. Every time he coughed, fresh blood would spurt out. After finally stopping the bleeding, Cole used the back of his hand to wipe his mouth. Then he looked up at Gu Mingming with a smile. "We are really similar, protecting the people we care about, and ignoring the people we don't care about. The only difference is that you care about Elvis, Leah, Qixuan and Sandy. You care about everyone except me. And I, from start to finish, only care about you. But Gu, in my eyes and in your eyes, what is the difference between the people you care about?" Gu Mingming clenched her fists. She had nothing to say. Cole had first been beaten up by whales because of Oriton. Even if he had the power of a beast king, it was not something that could be healed in a short period of time after every bone in his body was crushed by a demigod. But he had ignored his recovery and traveled such a long distance to the Snake King Valley, just to fall in love with her and give her the spirit of the rocky cliffs. Although they were both beast kings, foxes were naturally weaker than wolves. In addition, Cole had not recovered from his serious injuries, so Elvis definitely had the upper hand in their battle yesterday. Even if Gu Mingming had the slightest bit of rationality, she could easily see that the huge hole in his chest had not completely healed. Compared to the faint pink marks on Elvis's body, Cole's injuries were obviously more serious. But she only cared about Elvis, so she attacked Cole without a care, hitting him until he vomited blood and fell to the ground. Cole was right. In this aspect, she was really the same as him. She only cared about the people she cared about, and never cared about the lives of others. Gu Mingming pursed her lips, her eyes bloodshot. She did not know if it was because Cole had exposed the truth, or because of the blood he had vomited. After enduring for a long time, she only said fiercely, "But at least I did not kill you." "You will kill him, won't you?" Cole replied calmly, smiling so gently, as though he was saying, "Winter will pass, the flowers you love will bloom, the fruits you love will bear." Gu Mingming's brows were tightly furrowed and her fists were clenched by her sides. She clenched her teeth and held on for a long while before slowly loosening her fists. She said, "Yes, I will kill you eventually. Once I undo Qixuan's bewitching spell, I will definitely kill you." "But Cole, you are different from Oakley, you are not innocent." Cole chuckled. "If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Sorry, there are too many things that made you hate me, so I didn't think about it. But Gu, you care about so many people. Why did I only kill the insignificant Oakley? If he wants to torture you, he, Qixuan or Sandy are all good choices, isn't it?" Chapter 1552. If he had obediently helped you guard Sauter, I would not have killed him no matter how he went against me. Look at Qixuan, he is the best example. No matter how impudent that little wolf cub was in front of me, I still spared his life, didn't I? Only you foolishly thought that I kept him alive to threaten you. Gu, don't you know? You are full of weaknesses, it is too easy for me to threaten you. I don't have to restrict myself to Qixuan. Even if he dies, there is still Hutta, Jiaoyu and Kamwu. You will not give up on any of them, right? Cole shakily propped himself up and leaned against the wall to sit. He looked up at Gu Mingming with a smile on his face. He took a deep breath and pursed his lips, forcing himself to swallow back the blood that was surging up his throat. He frowned slightly and his forehead was covered in sweat, but the corners of his lips were still curled upwards. He had to smile, he had to smile. He was already so unbearable in her eyes, the only thing he had left was this smile. You treat Oakley as a friend, but what about him? He didn't hesitate to push you into the eye of the storm for his own purpose. I can't let someone who would stab you in the back stay by your side. So, even if you hate me because of this, I can't let him stay. Cole propped himself against the wall and slowly stood up from the ground. The dignified Beast King, Lord Cole, was now in a pathetic and weak state. He could only stand up from the ground. If not for the support of the wall, he wouldn't be able to do it. He coughed twice and blood flowed uncontrollably from the corner of his tightly shut mouth. He tilted his head slightly and secretly wiped away the blood. Then he turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and continued. Gu, I told you before, you and I are the same kind of person. I will never allow anyone who threatens the people we care about to exist. That year when you killed Nina, wasn't it because of this? Nina, this was a name that had not appeared for a long time. Back then, no matter how she provoked and how she jumped out, Gu Mengmeng tolerated it all. Until later, when she injured Sandy. Although Gu Mengmeng did not personally kill her, she had instructed Leah to do it. Nina and the 46 males in her family had all died because of a single sentence from her. She would not allow Nina, who would plot against Sandy, to exist. Cole would also not allow Oakley, who would betray her, to exist. Gu Mengmeng staggered a step back and her gaze dimmed. So she and Cole were the same kind of people? Cole stood firmly and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a determined gaze. Gu, I don't deny that I killed Oakley. If you want to avenge him, my life is right here for you to take. But let me tell you, if I could do it all over again, I would still kill him without hesitation, without mercy, and without regret. Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists and flung them away, leaving behind only one sentence. There's no next time. Cole did not promise that he would not lay his hands on the people Gu Mengmeng cared about in the future, because he had to stick to his bottom line of not lying to her. If the people around her betrayed her again in the future, no matter if it was Elvis, Leah or Sandy or the 4 little ones, if anyone dared to hurt her, he would use any means necessary to get rid of them. With one hand on the wall and the other on his chest, Cole looked at Gu Mengmeng's resolute back view. Gu, we did not do anything wrong. We were just protecting the people we care about. If you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. In this cruel world, if you're not the hunter, you're the prey. It's just survival of the fittest. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Besides, where are the people who wanted me to torture Cole to death? Why are there so many people asking me to show mercy now? Chapter 1553. About 3 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. Gu Mengmeng was unwilling to face Cole, so she hid in the cave and rarely went out. Leah was the one who prepared the food and brought it in, so she was unwilling to step out of the door. 3 weeks later, Leah confirmed that Gu Mengmeng was pregnant. Usually, foxes would be pregnant for about 50 days, and 3 weeks meant half of the gestation period was over. But Gu Mengmeng's tummy was ridiculously flat. Leah frowned and stared at Gu Mengmeng for a long time, before looking up blankly and saying slowly, maybe it's a daughter. Gu Mengmeng was also stunned for a moment. The chances of getting pregnant with a female in the beast world was very low. So Gu Mengmeng and Leah had always thought that this child would be a son, and had thought of 4 to 5 names. Suddenly realizing that it was a daughter, the whole family was dumbfounded. Really? Gu Mengmeng held Lee's hand carefully to confirm. Leah transformed into his beast form again, and laid between Gu Mengmeng's legs to sniff carefully, before transforming into a human and nodding. I'm sure that I'm pregnant. Counting the days, if it's a son, the tummy would have been big long ago. Ah! Gu Mengmeng screamed in joy, hugging Leah excitedly. Leah, we have a daughter! We have a daughter! Leah was also dizzy from joy, his entire body was numb, and the phrase "we have a daughter" kept repeating endlessly in his mind. After a long time, he finally laughed out, hugging Gu Mengmeng tightly in his arms, crying tears of joy. I finally have a family related by blood, finally. Gu Mengmeng, thank you. Gu Mengmeng hugged Lee's face and kissed him, saying, silly, other than this child, you still have me and Elvis, we are all your family. Yeah. Leah nodded heavily, hugging Gu Mengmeng back tightly in his arms. Gu Mengmeng's pregnancy had washed away all other matters, including the conflict with Cole previously. Now that she was pregnant, Gu Mengmeng could not stay in the cave all day. She needed to move around as much as possible. It was impossible to leave the cave, but luckily, because Snake's original body was too big, this cave had an area of at least 300 square meters. It was barely enough for digesting food and taking a stroll. Gu Mengmeng felt a little uneasy after not leaving the room for 3 weeks. For some unknown reason, Gu Mengmeng felt that she could not face Cole. In the past, she hated him because he had schemed against Leah. But later on, she realized he was just protecting himself. Later on, she hated him because he kidnapped Qi and killed Oakley. But later on, she found out that he kidnapped Qi so that he would have a reason to see her more often. Even though he killed Oakley, it was also to protect her. Didn't she kill Nina to protect Sandy? She had done the same thing, so what right did she have to criticize Cole? The last time Cole fought with Elvis, it seemed like Cole's injuries were also more serious. In the end, he went out and punched Elvis until he vomited blood. Now that she thought about it, why did it seem like she was in the wrong? She hesitated and could not take a step forward. She stared at that one step but could not take it. A shadow fell from the top of her head. Gu Mingming instinctively looked up and met Cole's eyes. Chapter 1554. There's no need, Leah will help me. Gu Mingming lowered her head, avoiding Cole's gaze. Cole chuckled and resisted the urge to lift her chin to look at him. You are pregnant and a female. It's better to have a witch doctor by your side. It's so cold outside. Won't your heart ache if he goes? Let me go. If you don't see me, will you feel better? Gu Mingming pursed her lips and kept quiet. Would she feel better if she didn't see Cole? Probably. After all, she felt extremely pressured just by seeing him for no reason. Moreover, if she really asked Leah to pluck some fruits for her in the snow, her heart would definitely ache. She would rather not eat it than let Leah take such a risk. Cole raised his hand, wanting to touch Gu Mingming's head. Seeing her instinctively step back and shrink her neck to avoid him, his hand froze in midair. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly lowered it. I'm leaving. Take care. With that, Cole took 2 steps back and turned to walk towards the entrance of the cave. A gust of cold wind blew over. Gu Mingming shivered and nestled into Elvis's arms. Leah started a fire and boiled some water for Gu Mingming to maintain the moisture in the cave and prevent her from having a nosebleed again. Without Cole in the cave, Gu Mingming felt much more comfortable and at ease. It was as if she had returned to the days in St. Nazaire. Every day, Elvis and Leah would take care of her as if she was a queen. Even though she was not even a month pregnant, the two of them would take turns to lie on her tummy and listen to her every day. Sometimes, her small intestines would move and make a gurgling sound. These 2 fools would insist that it was the baby moving and were as excited as 2 silly dogs. Such days were leisurely. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. Gu Mingming's tummy grew bigger day by day. Now it was as big as her chest. She stood up like a beta. Gu Mingming rubbed her tummy and looked at Leah from time to time. She asked, It's only been slightly more than a month. My tummy is growing a little too fast? Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little tummy and smiled. You've been eating more and moving less recently. It's probably not all because of your daughter. Maybe it's because you're growing fat on your waist. Leah. Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and glared at Leah fiercely. The hairs on Lee's back stood up as he instantly recalled the first year Gu Mingming came. Elvis had said that Gu Mingming seemed to have put on some weight and ended up being chased by Gu Mingming with a bone stick as big as a sweet potato. Leah was not afraid of being smashed, mainly because Gu Mingming's current body was not suitable for chasing and battling. Hence, he immediately admitted defeat and took the initiative to transform into a beast and sent it to Gu Mingming's hand. He even pretended to smile subconsciously and said, All right, Mingming, don't be angry. In the beast world, saying a female is a little fat is a compliment, really. I know my mistake. I really know my mistake. My Mingming is not fat at all. Not fat, not fat. His face was as red as an apple in anger as Gu Mingming was holding onto his ear. Leah kept begging for mercy, but did not dare to struggle, fearing that he would hurt Gu Mingming. Just as they were fooling around, a wave of coldness swept over. Gu Mingming instinctively looked towards the entrance of the cave and saw Cole, who had just returned covered in frost. Chapter 1555. Leah had just taken the beast's skin bag from Cole's hands when Cole fell stiffly to one side, landing on the ground with a loud thud. He was obviously frozen stiff. Gu Mingming's heart was tugged at by Cole's fall. She did not know if it was because she knew about his past, but Gu Mingming's hostility towards Cole had lessened by a lot. Especially when he went out this time to not be an eyesore to make her feel better, and even braved the wind and snow to pluck fruits for her. No matter how cold-hearted she was, Gu Mingming still felt a little guilty. Gu Mingming wanted to help Cole up, but was stopped by Elvis and Leah. The cold air on his body is too strong. It will be troublesome to pass it to you. Leah handed the Schweling fruits to Elvis, then walked up to carry Cole, and placed him at a spot slightly further away from the fire. People with frostbite should not immediately go to the fire. It would make their injuries worse. Elvis took out a beast skin cushion and placed it by the fire, letting Gu Mingming sit there comfortably. Leah took care of Cole, while Elvis went to wash the Schweling fruits for Gu Mingming to eat. Gu Mingming held a small bowl, staring at the bowl full of Schweling fruits in a daze, but did not eat a single one. Elvis used his chest to support Gu Mingming's waist, wrapping an arm around her shoulder, and gently squeezing her little hand, asking, "Why aren't you eating? Don't you love eating this fruit the most? I remember when you were pregnant with Hutta and the rest, you could eat 3 big bowls of this at once." Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "There are many Schweling fruits on the Mota Mountains. Gregory would pluck them for me to eat every day. But he said I could only eat 10 at most at once, or else it would be too cold and my stomach would feel uncomfortable." Elvis was taken aback for a moment, then took the bowl from Gu Mingming's hands. He forced a smile and said calmly, "It is not easy to be principled towards your own female. Gregory is a good man. When he comes back, you can take him in. Leah and I have no objections." Leah tilted his head and looked at Elvis, saying, "Who says I have no objections? I have objections. If you want to be promoted, you have to defeat me first." Gu Mingming looked at Leah, who was trying to protect his food, and could not help but laugh. Gregory, a 3rd-level beast, wanted to fight Leah, a 5th level? Elvis looked at Leah plainly and said, "Xiaoming feels guilty towards him regarding the love of the sky. Moreover, he has sacrificed so much for Xiaoming. We have no right to reject him." Leah snorted nonchalantly and said, "It was all thanks to him that Mingming could obtain the love of the sky, but who begged him to do so? Since it was voluntary, there was no need to say that anyone owed him anything. Furthermore, there were many ways to thank him, but he could not use Mingming as a reward. If this precedent is set, in the future, everyone will come to sacrifice their lives for Mingming. Are we going to accept all of them?" When Leah said this, he glanced at Cole. His meaning was obvious. With Cole's methods, if Gu Mingming were to set a precedent for Gregory, he would be able to do even more cruel things to force Gu Mingming to accept him. Elvis frowned and remained silent for a moment. "They are different. Back then Gregory was tricked by you." Chapter 1556. Elvis let out a sigh. As the first partner, he had to be fair and magnanimous. But as a male, how could he be willing to have another person fighting for her attention at home? Especially that Gregory, he was exceptionally handsome and different from most of the beasts in the beast world. He had the unique aura of a bird, and although he did not dare to say that he could outshine Leah, he was at least on par with him. He was neither servile nor overbearing in front of Gu Mingming, and would not give in uncontrollably just because of her pleas. He had a measuring stick in his heart, and would only do things that were truly good for her. Most importantly, he was only 10 years old, and was at the prime of his youth, while Elvis and Leah were no longer as young and energetic as before. Coupled with the friendship of the love of the sky, if he really became Gu Mingming's partner, Elvis gave a bitter smile. Would Xiaoming still value him? Unfortunately, he was not Leah and could not place his emotions before Gu Mingming's interests. As long as Xiaoming liked him, not only could he not reject him, he had to think of ways to help her settle Leah so that she could fulfill her wish. It was just that Wales had yet to be truly revived, and there was still some time before Gregory returned. Saying all these in advance was just to let Leah and himself be mentally prepared and not to argue too early. And Elvis was very clear that although Leah was speaking so decisively now, if Gu Mingming really liked Gregory, Leah would bear with it no matter how unwilling he was, and would not really stop her. After all, compared to her smiling face, there was nothing else in this world that was more important, including themselves. Forget it. Let's wait until Gregory successfully returns. Elvis said calmly. Leah harumphed and did not reply. He just fiddled with some medicine and poured it down Cole's throat with hot water. Then he dusted his hands and said, "All right, this fellow is just suffering from frostbite. He won't die, don't worry." Gu Mingming nodded and said, "Make more food later. When he wakes up, let's eat together." Leah glanced at Cole, and his lips curled up slightly as he smiled and nodded. Ever since Gu Mingming got pregnant, she had become especially drowsy all day long. Now, she felt sleepy again after just a few steps. She leaned into Elvis's arms and yawned, saying that she wanted to sleep for a while. Elvis remembered that Gu Mingming was also like this when she was pregnant with Hutta and the rest. She got tired easily, so he carried Gu Mingming back to the room and let her lie down comfortably to have a good sleep, while he stayed by her side as a warm blanket to keep her warm. Leah stayed outside, adjusting the fire from time to time, controlling the heat in preparation for cooking. He waited until Gu Mingming's even breathing could be heard from the house. After confirming that Gu Mingming had fallen asleep, he gave Cole a kick. "All right, stop pretending. Mingming is asleep." Cole slowly opened his eyes and smiled. He propped himself up and said, "I'm not pretending. I just woke up." Leah did not question him and only smiled faintly. "Can you be more creative? You're completely plagiarizing the way I begged for mercy in the past. Aren't you afraid that Mingming will notice?" Cole's body was weak. No matter how much of a beast king he was, not eating or drinking in the snow for half a month was enough to kill him. His voice was hoarse and a little weak. He said, "Since you know there's a shortcut, why take a detour? Follow the tracks so that you won't fall into the swamp, right?" Chapter 1557. Cole did not think that Leah was being sarcastic and just smiled. "Just like what you said. Agu is not an inexperienced little female. It's impossible to lie to her, especially when she has such a deep enmity towards me. How can I not use everything I have in order to sway her?" Leah stopped stirring and turned to look at Cole. He asked in a daze. "Back then you used all your schemes to survive. Now you're putting in so much effort to plot something that will cost you your life. I really don't understand you. Are you seeking life or death?" Cole raised his head and leaned against the wall. His gaze was distant, as if he was looking at his past self through the fire. He said calmly, "I was unwilling to accept it back then. I couldn't understand the 3 words based on what, and was determined to trample everyone under my feet. All these years I've done it. I'm the leader of Sauter, the supreme light in the beast world. The king behind the stray beasts, the most obscure place in the beast world. I've done my best to be kind in front of others and evil behind others. Maybe you don't believe me, but I've long been sick of this kind of life. Everything is in my control, and no one can escape from my control. If I want someone to live, they will die. If I want someone to live a life worse than death, it's not impossible." Cole looked at Leah and smiled calmly. "You're hailed as the wisest person in the beast world. But all these years, has there ever been a day where you could get rid of me? I'm hated by people like Peter and Oakley. But I don't care about their hatred. I even intentionally allowed them to grow, allowing them to sharpen their claws and teeth and wait for an opportunity to attack me. Unfortunately, they're too stupid and can't even withstand a single blow. I'm also bored out of my mind. There are also people who love me dearly, like Maya and Jillian. They try their best to please me and to please me. But I don't have the slightest interest in them. Other than using them, they have no value in my eyes." Cole's gaze was as still as stagnant water, so calm that it sent chills down one's spine. "And you, my brother who hates and loves me. You hate me for scheming against you, hate me for torturing you, but you can't let go of the last bit of kinship between us. After all, I am your only remaining brother in this world. So when you and Elvis fought back in Sauter that year, you could not bring yourself to kill me even though you had already subdued me. You let me go because Agu wanted to protect Qixian. I don't believe that you don't know what it means to let a tiger return to the mountain. And there will be no end of trouble in the future. After all, my life wasn't tied to Qixian's back then. Killing me before looking for Qixian was the most rational decision." But all these could not compare to Agu's gentle gaze that year. Cole's gaze softened and ripples formed in his eyes that were like stagnant water. The first time I saw her, it was when she was roasting meat with Elvis outside the small stone room in Sodor. There was a flame demon in Sodor, and I couldn't possibly wait until it was too late to find out. Actually, I reached the scene earlier than those females who were participating in the beauty pageant. It was just that I was stunned by Agu's bright smile and forgot to move. So I didn't stand out. Chapter 1558. At that time, I didn't know what liking was. I only knew that this female was very interesting and I wanted her. As Cole said, he threw another branch into the fire and said, that night, after I returned to my room, my mind kept replaying the scene of her and Elvis joking around. I even imagined that the one hugging her was not Elvis, but me. So the next morning, I packed up and went to the little stone house to look for her. Yeah, you even stopped me. A mere third-level orc actually dared to be so impudent in front of a fifth-level me. You really overestimated yourself. Leah laughed dryly. So you brought me away and beat me until I revealed my original form before sending me back. Cole raised his brows. He didn't deny it. Females should flock to the strong. As a fifth level, I had a noble status and should be the one she liked. Unfortunately, she didn't care about me at all. So towards her, other than curiosity, I also had a desire to conquer. Cole continued. After you left Sodor, I kept following you. But you were too weak then and couldn't even notice me. Along the way, I saw how gentle she was to you and Elvis. There were countless times when I wanted to appear and snatch her away. Just like how I did with Jillian, I could just lock her up and tame her to be my pet. But once she smiled, I couldn't move. If I could be loved by her, who would want to be hated? At that time I was angry, resentful and full of hatred. I blamed her for appearing too late. I had mated with another female, and lost the right to pursue her openly. But after so many twists and turns, I couldn't bear to taint her with my hatred. So I could only transfer it to you. Cole looked straight at Leah. His gaze was calm and without a hint of guilt. If you hadn't made that request to me back then, I wouldn't have lost the chance to pursue Agu. Why did you let me settle Jillian for you, while you could pursue Agu? Did you think being rejected by Agu back then was very miserable? But did you know that I was even envious of you being rejected? Because I didn't even have the right to be rejected. Leah was not angry. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, bloodlines are really magical things. While I was envious of Elvis being reprimanded by Meng Meng, twisted by his ears and smashed with potatoes, you were actually envious of my envy. Cole replied with a smile, acknowledging Lee's words. After a moment of silence, he continued, after that, I plotted for Agu to come to Sodor to seek help from me, and I meticulously acted as her hero. It wasn't that I couldn't see her change from trusting me at the very beginning to deliberately playing around with me. It wasn't that I couldn't see this change, but I didn't want to expose it. If she wanted, I would rather be blindly deceived by her for the rest of my life. What a pity, even if she was being hypocritical, she still held me back, making me reluctantly spend most of my attention on her. Giving you and Elvis the chance to take a breather, allowing you to take the chance to rise up and bite me in the back. Chapter 1559. Leah placed the food into the pot in an orderly manner. As he stirred, he said, after so many things, I never thought that there would be a day where the two of us could calmly reminisce about the past. In this world, nothing is certain. Cole smiled but did not reply. It was not that he did not understand Lee's meaning. Leah was saying that as long as he was alive, there was still hope. His younger brother was advising him not to seek death. But, I know that if I want to hide, Agu will not kill me because of her relationship with Qi Xian. I should be able to escape. But I forced her to do so many things that she did not want to do. In the end, I have to make her do something that she wants to do to appease her anger. Cole's gaze involuntarily turned towards the room. Separated by the wall, he could not see anything, but just the sound of that little person's even breathing was already the greatest consolation in his gloomy life. If I can't get Agu, there's nothing else in this world that I want to be reluctant to part with. Rather than living like a withered corpse, why not use this life to fulfill Agu's wish? Since she wants to kill me so badly, then let her. I will help her plan the cruelest scenario and sacrifice myself to her. In exchange for her to pretend to be courteous to me one more time. That is enough. Leah glanced sideways at Cole. So, what you said about conquering the earth is all nonsense, right? Cole chuckled and nodded. If I don't say that, how will that fellow Qixuan agree? Leah snorted. You are just taking advantage of Qixuan's young age. You actually use such a flawed excuse to fool him. If I don't take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, I will not be able to open the doors of time and space. If I take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, you will definitely die. How can a damned fox conquer the earth? Cole did not deny it. He just smiled faintly. You have already seen through this now. I wonder how long will it take for Agu to understand. At that time, will she feel a little more guilty towards me and remember me for a little longer? Leah paused and turned to look at Cole. He frowned. You purposely use such illogical words to mislead Qixuan, just so that one day Meng Meng will come around and feel more guilty towards you? Cole did not answer but asked instead, why not? Madman. Leah declined to comment and just turned his head to continue stirring the meat in the pot. Meng Meng said you must be tired from plucking the shueling fruits, so she asked me to make more dishes to entertain you. Cole's gaze landed on Li's pot. The boiling steam in the pot obscured his silhouette. He smiled faintly. He did not need to taste it to know how warm this pot of meat was. Let's eat together when she wakes up. Cole lowered his head and looked at his chest. He muttered. After all, there aren't many chances for me to have a meal with her. The two of them didn't speak anymore. They just sat there quietly, their gazes drifting to the door from time to time. Gu Mengmeng slept for quite a long time. When she woke up, Li's meat had already been heated up several times. When Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng out of the house, Leah smiled and walked forward. He pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. If you still don't wake up, this pot of meat will turn into minced meat. Chapter 1560. Leah had always been extremely indulgent towards Gu Mengmeng, and now that she was pregnant, he would naturally pamper her even more. How could he let her starve? So he patted her back lightly and said, just wait, it will be done soon. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to sit beside the fire. Gu Mengmeng leaned lazily in Elvis's arms as she waited for her meal. Seeing that Cole was already awake, she smiled faintly and said, you're awake. Yeah. Cole returned a faint smile and responded with a single word, but his eyes dimmed a little. Leah was familiar with Gu Mengmeng's tastes and had always cooked according to her preferences, so Gu Mengmeng was naturally satisfied with her meal. After eating, Elvis and Leah supported her to walk around the cave to aid digestion. After 2 to 3 rounds, Gu Mengmeng said she was tired and wanted to sleep again. It was Leah and Elvis's first time taking care of a female fetus, and they did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, females were delicate and hard to conceive, so it was normal for Gu Mengmeng to feel tired. Moreover, sleeping after eating and eating after waking up was exactly the lifestyle that Elvis and Leah had been dreaming of for Gu Mengmeng. Naturally, they did not object. But Cole's expression darkened even more. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng into the room to let her sleep. Not long after, Gu Mengmeng's even breathing could be heard. Cole placed the bowl in his hands at the side and said, both of you, come out for a while. Leah and Elvis were both taken aback. Although their relationship with Cole had improved, it was still an extremely awkward existence. If it was not necessary, they would try not to communicate with each other. Especially between Elvis and Cole, there was no friendship at all. They just hated each other. This was the first time Cole had used such an impolite and almost commanding tone to call someone. It's about Agu, Cole added. Elvis and Leah looked at each other, but still stood up and walked out. Cole used his eyes to signal them to go somewhere further away, and not disturb Gu Mengmeng by standing at the door. Elvis and Leah did not have any objections and followed Cole to the other side of the cave. What's the matter? Elvis asked with a darkened face. Cole turned back to look at the entrance of Gu Mengmeng's room and said softly, how long has she been in this state? Elvis and Leah looked at Cole in confusion. What did this state mean? Cole frowned, looking slightly impatient, but he still suppressed his temper and explained. Agu's stomach, if it's a male cub, isn't it a little too small? But if it's a female, don't you think it's a little too big? It's only been a month, and she's already like this. How big will her belly be when she gives birth? Leah was shocked by Cole's words and he frowned. Pregnancy does cause fatigue, but Agu's body has always been healthy, and she also has the tear of the beast deity and the love of the sky, two of the 7 treasures, supporting her. How could she be so drowsy? You witch doctor. Cole stopped halfway through his accusation. He sighed and shook his head. Elvis did not know much about medicine, but he could understand one thing. Gu Mingming was not normal, and she was in danger. Elvis grabbed Cole's neck and pushed him against the wall, choking him tightly. Speak clearly, what happened to Xiao Meng? Chapter 1561. What do you mean? Elvis asked. Cole took a deep breath and said, You still don't understand? The female in Agu's stomach is absorbing the energy of the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky. If this continues, Agu's stomach will explode in less than 3 months and 2 lives will be lost. Elvis took a step back and his stomach exploded. 1 dead and 2 lives. These simple words exploded in Elvis's mind like a sudden clap of thunder. He turned to look at Leah with much difficulty and said with clenched teeth, This child cannot be left alive. Everything that could endanger Gu Mingming must be eradicated, no matter if this child was Li's or his. When Gu Mingming gave birth to Kanwu, he would not hesitate to kill Kanwu to protect Gu Mingming if Gu Mingming did not threaten to kill herself. Now that this child was Li's, he would do the same. In this world, no one or thing was more important than Gu Mingming, including themselves. Cole said coldly, Agu will not agree to it. You don't have to worry. Elvis looked at Leah with a black face and said, I will be the bad guy. No matter how angry Xiao Ming is after this, I will bear the responsibility alone. You take good care of her. Leah pulled Elvis back and said, Calm down first. You can't bear to? Elvis asked back with a sinister gaze. Leah shook his head and said, In my eyes, no one can be compared to Gu Mingming. If she is threatened, I will personally kill this child. But if there is a way to not hurt Gu Mingming, why should we let her cry? Elvis was stunned and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah turned to look at Cole and said, What do you mean by opening the doors of time and space in advance? Cole said, When the doors of time and space open, the 7 treasures will reunite. This means that the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky will be removed from her body. This way, the child in her stomach will not be able to absorb the energy of the 7 treasures, and the problem will be solved. Li's gaze shifted down and said, But the spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared yet. Cole chuckled and said, The spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared because I am not in enough pain. Perhaps, when Agu's eyes were filled with hatred and she personally pierced through my left chest and touched that heart, the spirit of the rocky cliffs would appear. Leah frowned and contemplated for a long time. He shook his head and said, You have already explained everything to her in the past. Based on her personality, she is filled with guilt towards you and can't bear to do anything to you at all. Cole took 2 steps back and revealed a sly and despicable smile. Making her hate me is my forte. What do you want? Leah was confused. Cole's bloodshot eyes widened as he glared at Leah. I want you to die. All the energy in Li's body seemed to have been sucked dry in an instant. He fell to the ground with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. The wrath of the Beast King. Elvis glared furiously at Cole. Cole sneered and said, Why? Lord Wolf King wants to kill me? Ha, then you have to think carefully. If I die now, the spirit of the rocky cliffs will not be able to appear, and the one in Agu's stomach will take her life. Just based on fighting skills, I am indeed weaker than you. But all is fair in war. You have no way to retaliate. With that, Cole turned ruthless and directly reached for Elvis's chest. He crushed his heart without hesitation. Gu Mingming, who had just fallen asleep, was awakened by the intense pain from the 2 mating marks. She lay on the bed like a fish on water, gasping for air. Her eyes were wide open and she suppressed her tears as she shouted, Elvis, Leah? Respond to me, respond to me. Aside from the topic, hold back your tears, you are not allowed to cry. Susu did not want to torture Elvis and Leah, nor did she want to torture Gu Mengmeng. Susu wanted to torture Cole. As long as the doors of time and space opened, Gu Mengmeng would have a chance to make a wish. By then Elvis and Leah would be revived. So as long as it is not a sad ending, you are not allowed to cry. Also, hold down those little claws that want to mail a kitchen knife. Other than the monthly tickets, Susu refuses to accept anything else. Chapter 1562. Elvis and Leah didn't answer her. There was only the sound of soft, wet footsteps approaching her, step by step. Gu Mengmeng stood up abruptly, her eyes fixed on the entrance of the cave. Sure enough, a white figure appeared there. He had an evil and arrogant smile on his face, and he was holding a beating heart in one hand. Gu, now you finally belong to me alone. Gu Mengmeng glared at Cole, her eyes instantly filled with blood vessels. It was as if all the blood in her body had frozen, turning indescribably cold. Cole casually threw that heart at Gu Mengmeng's feet, then used his blood-stained hand to cover Gu Mengmeng's lower abdomen. He laughed sinisterly. Now, I just need to kill this child, then you will have nothing left. The only person you can rely on is me. I will kill you. Gu Mengmeng suddenly raised her head and strangled Cole's neck. Cole didn't resist. He just looked at Gu Mengmeng with a cold smile. Don't care about Qixian anymore? Are you going to kill Qixian with your own hands for 2 dead partners? You. The veins on Gu Mengmeng's forehead bulged. Her gums were bleeding from her clenched teeth. But Cole smiled calmly. I'm not afraid to tell you that it's very easy to dissolve my relationship with Qixian. You just need to say you love me. But can you say it? Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and glared at Cole. I love you. She enunciated each word clearly. At the same time, her right hand pierced through Cole's left chest and pinched his heart. Cole held on to Gu Mengmeng's wrist that was pierced through his chest. He smiled with much difficulty. Again cough. I still want to hear it one more time. To hear you say you love me one more time. Gu Mengmeng's eyes were so red that it looked like she was crying blood. She was like a demonized Rakshasa, without the slightest bit of mercy. She slowly tightened her grip on Cole's chest, forcefully breaking every blood vessel connected to his heart. Cole knew that he would never have the chance to hear her say she loved him a second time. He could clearly feel what her hand was doing in his chest, but he did not feel angry, nor did he feel fear. He just stared straight at Gu Mengmeng, wanting to take one more look at her before he lost consciousness. If Gu Mengmeng had the ability to listen to other people's thoughts, she would have heard Cole saying, Gu, are you here to kill me? You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Gu, out of the 100 things I made you remember me for, there is finally one that makes you happy, right? You finally cut open my chest and dug out my heart with your own hands. Are you happy? If you're happy, can you not forget me for the sake of this happiness? Even if it's a painful memory every time you think of me, don't forget me. It doesn't matter if you scold me or hate me. It's fine as long as you remember me. Cole raised his hand with difficulty, his blood-stained hand reaching towards Gu Mengmeng's head. He really wanted to rub her furry little head. He had never combed her hair with the beast horn comb that he had personally made for her. Gu Mengmeng pulled her hand out from Cole's chest without hesitation. Just like how he held on to Elvis's heart just now, she was also holding on to his heart. Chapter 1563. But it didn't matter, he didn't have any regrets. Because at that moment, Gu Mengmeng only saw him in her eyes. Gu, didn't you always want me to be in pain and want me to die? You have fulfilled your wish now, so don't blink, don't turn your head, just keep looking at me like this. Before I die, look at me one more time, just one more time. I beg of you. Unfortunately, Gu Mengmeng was destined not to hear Cole's pleas. Her heart was completely on Elvis and Leah. So she threw Cole's heart on the ground without hesitation, and ran out of the cave to find Elvis and Leah without a shred of reluctance. She didn't see that the moment she turned her head, that bloody heart that rolled on the ground turned into stone inch by inch. His heart was like a rock when he couldn't get what he wanted. His heart didn't die when she pierced through his chest, but when she turned around and left without hesitation, that was the most painful moment for him. He didn't ask for much, as long as she looked at him one more time. And this dying wish was already an extravagant wish. She didn't love him after all, so he wouldn't share any of his soft-heartedness with her. Agu, you keep saying that I'm vicious. But how can my viciousness compare to yours? In the end, Cole took his last breath, his murky eyes staring in the direction that Gu Mengmeng had left. A patch of tender green pierced through his right chest and quickly grew into a branch. If Gu Mengmeng could still remember, the place where the branch grew out was the hole that she personally dug in Oakley's chest when he died. Outside the cave, Gu Mengmeng sat paralyzed on the ground, hugging Elvis, who had a huge hole in his chest and his heart missing. Her other hand was desperately grabbing onto Leah, who was bleeding from all 7 orifices. She cried so hard that she couldn't even make a single sound. That kind of sorrow couldn't be described with words. At the same time, 7 beams of light pierced through the air. Gu Mengmeng's love of the sky, tear of the beast deity, the 2 hearts in the cave, spirit of the rocky cliffs and heart of the desert, the soul of the forest that grew out of Cole's right chest, the key of the beast king on the Mota Mountains, the kiss of the ocean in Zacharias. Gu Mengmeng's body went limp and she lost consciousness, fainting in the light beams. Gu Mengmeng's consciousness sank into chaos and she did not know where she was. It was as if she was a wandering soul looking at the world from a third person's perspective. The scene was not the beast world, but modern times? The scene was set in a very luxurious hall. There were many people in the hall, all dressed in bright clothes. They gathered together and whispered to each other. Gu Mengmeng slowly approached and realized that there was a European-style sofa in the middle of the crowd. An elderly man and a young lady were sitting on the sofa. Wasn't that girl her? Just as Gu Mengmeng was feeling puzzled, she suddenly felt the world spinning around her. It was as if she had done countless somersaults, and when her view changed again, she was already the one sitting on the sofa. There was a hand on his shoulder. The joints of the hand were distinct, slender and strong. He whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will stand up for you. Just be good and watch the show." Gu Mengmeng turned around in shock and met with that pair of dark green eyes. She was stunned for 2 seconds before saying, "See, Neek." Snakel chuckled and pinched Gu Mengmeng's little nose, saying, "Didn't I tell you how to call me?" "Anik?" Gu Mengmeng tried calling out softly. Chapter 1564. Gu Mengmeng's eyes were red as she bit her lower lip. Her thoughts were in a mess and she could not think of anything. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart, and her tears fell down one by one. Snake's mother's heart ached at the sight. What kind of joke was this? This was her precious daughter-in-law who could stabilize her son. How could she bear to suffer such a huge grievance? Even if she brought back F Country, the entire family would treat her with respect and could not bear to say a harsh word to her. But here, she was being bullied to tears. "Hubby." The woman used her elbow to nudge her husband lightly. The husband turned around and saw his precious daughter-in-law crying. His anger flared up immediately. "No one is saying anything, right? All right, then don't say anything. Someone call the consulate." Don't. Duke, please calm down first." A man in a suit who looked like he was in charge of public relations immediately stood up. He waved his hand behind him and took a tray from someone beside him. There was a stack of documents on the tray. He smiled apologetically. "This is a gift from the Mo family as an apology on behalf of our daughter. All the assets and documents that can be prepared within an hour are all here. After compensating all these, the Mo family will only have one house left. This kind of compensation is also very sincere. How about?" Snake carried Gu Mengmeng up from the sofa and hugged her in his arms. He said calmly, "My woman does not sell her tears." With that, he carried Gu Mengmeng away. Originally, he only wanted to punish her lightly and let his parents help Gu Mengmeng make the decision. He wanted to give Gu Mengmeng the warmth of a family. As for how far his parents could go, he did not care. But now the situation was different. Gu Mengmeng cried. Making her cry would escalate the situation. It was definitely not a problem that could be solved with money. After Snakel left, The two elders' faces turned extremely gloomy. They exchanged glances and understood that their son was not going to be kind. But he was busy coaxing his wife, so he left this matter to them. If they did not handle it well, they could forget about letting their son return to F country. So, the two of them used the dignity of the F country's royal family and forcefully escalated this small matter into a diplomatic dispute between the two countries. And Snake could no longer be bothered with all these. He placed Gu Mengmeng in the car and sped all the way to Monsieur Company's CEO's office. He did not release his grip on the steering wheel even when the car was traveling at 140 miles per hour, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would disappear the moment he let go. But strangely, he didn't say anything along the way. He just held her hand tightly and even trembled slightly. The moment Snake entered the CEO's office, he immediately took out the set of wedding rings that he had ordered long ago from the drawer. He held Gu Mengmeng's hand and said, "Tumeng He-chen used 7 years to exchange for Zhao Masheng. Yang Gui used 16 years to exchange for Xiao Longnu. Feng Qingxue used 900 years to exchange for Bailey Tusu. What about me? Can I use the past 1,000 years and this life to exchange for you?" Snake. This place is. I'm not. Gu Mengmeng's pupils trembled violently. Her dazed state along the way slowly became clear. This was not the Beast world, nor was it the modern world. It was the television series that she had watched with the Beast deity. Chapter 1565. Snake slowly let go of Gu Mengmeng. He no longer wrapped his arms around her, but held one of her hands. Then he slowly knelt down with one knee on the ground. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said, "Tumeng, I said before, I will only propose once in my life. Marry me, all right?" "The illusion you mentioned just now." Snake maintained his kneeling position and smiled. "You appearing here means that the doors of time and space have already opened. This is your original world, a four-legged snake, with your family and friends. As long as you are willing to come back, everything that happened in the past 19 years will become your memory. I will let you live in bliss for the rest of your life. But if you still want to return to the Beast world, then everything here will just be an illusion. A dream that I spent 19 years in." Snake opened the ring box. A pair of snake-shaped rings lay quietly inside. Two snakes shared a snake gallbladder. Snake said before that when they were together, they were a complete pair of snakes. But if they were separated, the gallbladder would belong to the female snake. The male snake would not have a gallbladder and would definitely die. "Tumeng, don't let me lose you again. Marry me, all right?" Countless memories squeezed into Gu Mengmeng's brain. Those television dramas that she watched with the Beast deity were all replaced with her own memories. It was as if she had always been in a relationship with Snake. The memories of the two worlds intertwined and collided with each other. Gu Mengmeng only felt a splitting headache. She held her head and shook it continuously. She wanted to scream but could not make a sound. Snake was worried and his heart ached. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and said deeply, "Tumeng, don't be afraid. It's all right. I'm here. I will protect you. Forget everything in the Beast world. Stay here. And I will accompany you, all right?" No. Gu Mengmeng clenched her teeth, her eyes bloodshot. She could not let go of Elvis and Leah. They were still lying in a pool of blood. The tragic deaths of Elvis and Leah kept flashing through her mind, as well as the promise she made on the day she mated with Elvis. She said, "Elvis, I love you. I will give myself to you. From now on, I will treat you as my pride, my sky and my husband. If you don't leave me, I will be with you in life. If you are in danger, I will use my life to pay for it." She had promised Elvis and Leah that no matter how many lies she had told, there was at least one thing that she would never lie to them. She would never abandon them, never. "I want to go back. I want to return to the Beast world." Gu Mengmeng screamed. She bit the tip of her tongue harshly to keep herself awake. She told herself that these messy memories could not be trusted. Everything about Snake was seen on television with the Beast deity in the Beast world. Those memories did not belong to her. She reminded herself cruelly. Snake was already dead. The person in front of her was just an illusion. I want Elvis, I want Leah, I don't want you. No. Gu Mingming screamed with all her might, using all her strength to push Snake away. Snake stumbled backwards and the ring fell to the ground. The male and female snake separated from each other. The female snake had an extra gem, while the male snake was missing a gallbladder. The scene in front of him was distorted, like an oil painting soaked in water. With a light brush of the water, the oil paint faded away. Chapter 1566. The white fog had long dissipated, and this was Gu Mingming's illusion. She looked around secretly but did not see the beast deity. Father, father, where are you? Come out quickly. I need you, father. Gu Mingming was sobbing and could not form a sentence or sentence. She could only run around aimlessly, shouting and begging. Vaguely, some shadows gradually formed into human shapes in the air. Gu Mingming rubbed her eyes and looked carefully. Frowning, Gu Mingming could not help but call out her name. Wang Xiaoxin? Wang Xiaoxin smiled faintly with a tinge of guilt and heartache. She took 2 steps forward and hugged Gu Mingming gently in her arms. Child, thank you and sorry. Gu Mingming's mind was still in a mess. Everything happened too suddenly, and she could not make heads or tails of it. Wang Xiaoxin felt Gu Mingming's stiffness and held her shoulders with both hands. You don't have to be so guarded, we are not strangers, right? Maybe if I change my stance, you will be more relaxed? With that, Wang Xiaoxin's features became blurry in front of Gu Mingming. Then slowly, she turned into a white-robed ethereal fairy-like beast deity. Gu Mingming felt that she had millions of questions to ask, but they were all stuck in her throat, and she could not say a single word. Sorry, I lied to you. Wang Xiaoxin held Gu Mingming's hand and sat back on that 2-seater wooden chair. She still had a guilty smile on her face and sighed. The beast deity will not lie. This sentence itself is the biggest lie. Sorry, I lied to you right from the start. But please believe that I have no ill intentions. Gu Mingming jumped up from the chair and sniffled. Elvis and Leah? Don't panic, calm down and listen to me. That's my man. How can I not panic? Gu Mingming tugged at the corner of the beast deity's shirt and said, No matter what you lied to me, I will not hold it against you. Return Elvis and Leah to me. I beg you, return them to me. Wang Xiaoxin sighed and looked to the side with a dark gaze. Gu Mingming followed Wang Xiaoxin's gaze and saw a huge door. It was so huge that one could see the edge of it. She could only see a small gap in the door, and the person standing in the gap was Snake. Child, you asked me before if what you saw Snake experiencing in that world was a fantasy. I told you it wasn't. Whether this is true or not is up to you. With the 7 treasures gathered, the gate of time and space opened. If you cross over to the other side of the door, everything you saw about Snake will be your real memory, and not an illusion. Wang Xiaoxin stood up behind Gu Mingming and held her shoulders lightly with both hands, saying, Elvis and Leah are already dead. What's there for you to miss in the beast world? Why don't you transmigrate back to the modern world? With Snake protecting you and taking care of you, you can definitely live a happy life. As for everything that happened in the beast world, I will help you erase it and make you forget about it, as if it had never happened. This way you won't be in pain. Just like what we see in the TV series, you will have a simple and happy life. This is my compensation to you, okay? Chapter 1567. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip tightly and after a while, she apologized with a heavy sobbing tone. Kel, I'm sorry. Snake's brows were tightly knitted and did not relax, but his tightly pursed lips slowly relaxed, curling into a helpless smile. He stood there looking at the tears in Gu Mingming's eyes and sighed with a smile. Then he took a step forward and stepped out of the door, standing in the same world as Gu Mingming. That step had almost peeled off a layer of his skin. The pressure and friction from crossing through time and space made him feel unbearable pain, but he just gritted his teeth and endured it. He could not show any signs of weakness in front of Tu Meng. He had to be strong to protect her, no matter where he was. With his palm facing up, Snake took 2 deep breaths to calm himself down before saying, Tu Meng, come here. It was as if Gu Mingming's feet did not belong to her as she took small steps towards Snake. Her eyes were fixated on his face the entire time, and the closer she got, the louder she sobbed. This was the man who had cut open his own chest for her. This was the man who had left his own world to go to a completely unfamiliar place to create a perfect future for her. This was the man who had once again crossed time and space for her. He was not stingy at all when he had spent 19 years of hard work for her. For a mere Gu Mingming, he had tossed his status, money, glory, respect, and even his life to the back of his mind. And what about her? Other than hurting him time and time again, what else had she done? Snake maintained his palm facing up as he waited for Gu Mingming to place her hand in his. But when Gu Mingming walked to him, she did not hold his hand but just pounced into his arms, hugging him tightly like a lost child, panicking and helpless, hugging a loved one and crying her heart out. Choking with sobs, she said, "Akel, what should I do? Elvis and Leah are dead. What should I do? I'm so scared. I have nothing left." Sob, sob, sob. "Akel, what should I do?" This was the first time Gu Mingming had voluntarily thrown herself into his arms, the first time she had sought his help, and the first time she had unreservedly displayed her weakness in front of him. Snake hugged Gu Mingming tightly with both hands, his lips curling into a deep smile. The things that he had once envied to the point of madness and jealousy to the point of wanting to kill had finally happened to him. At that time he had questioned her. "Look for Elvis when you're sad, look for Leah when you're injured. Then when will you think of me?" Now she was looking for him. She hugged him and asked, "What should we do? Apung, what should I do? I'm so scared." It turned out that having a dream come true was not necessarily a happy thing. He would rather be envious and jealous for the rest of his life than let her cry like a child who had lost everything. Pressing his lips against the side of her ear, he gently kissed it and said in a deep and husky voice, "Who said you have nothing left? You still have me. Don't forget, no matter which world you are in, I'm an omnipotent powerhouse." Chapter 1568. Gu Mingming's tears were still hanging on her face as she stared at Snake with eyes full of anticipation. Snakel smiled as he pulled her back into his arms. He said deeply, "I've been through a lot in the mortal world, and it's all because of you. Tumeng, you must remember, you're the only person in this world who can ride on my shoulders. So don't be afraid, don't cry, wait for me to come back." Gu Mingming did not know what Snake wanted to do. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart. Instinctively, she grabbed onto Snake's clothes tightly. She did not know what she was denying and just shook her head violently out of instinct. Snake smiled and kissed her lips. This was the first time he truly kissed her. He kissed the real Gu Mingming. He pulled her into his arms forcefully, wishing he could rub her into his own chest. He said, "In the end, Zhuangzhou dreamed of a butterfly. You are a blessing and also a calamity. Tuming, do you know? From the first time I saw you, I heard the beast deity whispering these words in my ear. There is no escape from this calamity." Gu Mingming felt that Snake, who was in her arms, seemed to have turned into nothingness. He was like a colorful bubble dancing in the summer wind, drifting further and further away. She could not catch up to him, catch him or touch him. "Akel! Akel, don't. Ah!" Gu Mingming tried her best to hold on to Snake, but he eventually disappeared bit by bit. He stared at Gu Mingming with a smile the entire time. His last words were, "In the previous life and this life, I waited for you twice. This time, it is your turn to wait for me. Wait for me to come back. Don't abandon me again. Tuming, I love you. Akel." Gu Mingming screamed at the top of her lungs, but she could not summon Snake back. Once again, Snake had disappeared for her once again. That huge door slowly closed with Snake's disappearance. Creak crack. Gu Mingming looked at the closed door of time and space. She laid on the ground and could not get up. She opened her mouth and cried miserably, but could not make a single sound. After the door disappeared, a few figures appeared. It was as if they were originally standing behind the door and were blocked. "Xian, I'm back." The largest figure walked past Gu Mingming and directly stood in front of Wang Xiaoxin, hugging her in his arms. Wang Xiaoxin's eyes reddened. She tightly leaned into that person's embrace. Her heart, which had been calm for 1,000 years, was now surging. Her eyes were crying, but her lips were smiling. She choked with sobs for a while before saying, "I hate you to death. Why did you make me wait for so long?" "Sorry I'm late." That person hugged Wang Xiaoxin and kissed the top of her head. After hugging for a long time, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let's settle this little trouble first. If you continue to cry, you'll die." "Yes." Wang Xiaoxin nodded. Her eyes were filled with melancholy as she said indifferently, "Did I do something wrong?" The man replied, "In my eyes, everything about you is correct." Wang Xiaoxin chuckled and leaned into the man's arms. "Wales, you've changed. 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't have such a glib tongue." Wales did not comment. He just carried Wang Xiaoxin in front of Gu Mengmeng. Then he kicked Gu Mengmeng from behind and said, "Hey Gu Tumeng, when are you going to stop crying? My son used his own life to close the door of time and space for you. Aren't you going to make a wish to exchange for your two good-for-nothings?" Chapter 1569. But with Gu Mingming's current mood, she really did not have the time to bother about who that person was. She just nodded her head hurriedly and placed her palms together in front of her chest, praying sincerely for Elvis and Leah to return. Gu Mingming kept her eyes shut, praying again and again in her heart, until a familiar and warm embrace embraced her gently, whispering into her ear, "Xiaomeng, sorry for making you worry." Gu Mingming suddenly opened her eyes, staring at the person in front of her without blinking. He looked down from above, like a deity. A head of black and lush hair casually draped behind him, as if it was dyed with ink, giving off a unique charm. Under a pair of straight eyebrows was a pair of slender peach blossom eyes, full of passion, making one fall into his eyes if they were not careful. He had a tall nose and moderately thick red lips, revealing a dazzling smile. "Hubby." Without another word, Gu Mingming directly pounced into Elvis's arms and hugged him tightly, crying, "You scared me to death. I thought I would never see you again." Sob, sob, sob. "How could you abandon me? You said that you would always take care of me, protect me, and not let me feel uneasy. How could you not keep your words?" Elvis allowed Gu Mingming to pound and hit his chest, only smiling and indulging her everything. He gently held her little fists and pressed them against his chest, kissing the top of her head, saying, "Yeah, it's my fault, it's all my fault." Xiaoming only has eyes for him? A furry tail swayed lightly, and a slender arm wrapped around Gu Mingming's waist. He did not pull Gu Mingming out from Elvis's arms, but stuck himself into Gu Mingming's arms in a flirtatious manner. Looking up, his slender and affectionate eyes were full of deep love. His thin lips outlined the contours of his face, making him look like a demon or a deity. That flirtatious blink of an eye made the entire world lose its color. "Let me see, Ioyo. Your eyes are swollen from crying? You're crying so hard. Looks like I've made a serious mistake this time." "Then Xiaoming Meng, how are you going to punish me? Are you going to throw potatoes or pull my ears? I promise I won't dodge. Or if you want to whip me with a small leather whip, that's fine too, get lost." Gu Mingming scolded with a thick nasal voice, but both her hands were wrapped tightly around Li's neck. She cried tears of joy when she regained what she had lost. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming while Gu Mingming hugged Leah. The scene of the three of them together had completed the entire world. The smile at the corner of her lips made the tears on her face look happy. After a long while, Wang Xiaoxin and Wales walked up to them after Elvis and Leah had calmed her down. Wang Xiaoxin pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and said guiltily, "I'm sorry. I made you go through all these hardships. Also, thank you for returning him to me." Gu Mingming looked at the beast deity whom she had always called father, and felt a little awkward. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Gu Mingming did not say anything, but Leah narrowed his eyes and took a step forward to stand between Gu Mingming and Wales. He asked with a guarded expression, "Xiao Mingming, who is he?" Returning him to her? These three words sounded like adultery no matter how one listened to it. Chapter 1570. Thinking of this possibility, Li's face darkened instantly. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng with a complicated gaze. He did not know how long he had been dead. If it was many years, Gu Mengmeng needed someone to take care of her. This snake beast in front of him was strong enough. With him taking care of Gu Mengmeng, at least she would not be bullied. But he felt really uncomfortable in his heart. Unbeknownst to him, there were other males cooking for her, making clothes for her, feeding her, hugging her, coaxing her, and even after being partners for 3 to 4 years, Gu Mengmeng had enough understanding of Leah. Most of the time, he was all smiles and there were not many people who could make him change his expression. So looking at Li's changing expression, Gu Mengmeng did not even need to think with her toes to know what he was thinking. So she hurriedly shook her head and denied. I don't know him, I really don't know him. Really? Leah looked at Gu Mengmeng's little face carefully, thinking about the possibility of her returning him to him because he and Elvis had woken up and did not need this snake beast anymore. Seeing her pair of red eyes filled with sincerity and urgency, he heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. It's all right if you know him. Elvis and I are back. You don't need any other males by your side anymore. Wang Xiaoxin wanted to say something, but before she could open her mouth, Wales was already in a difficult position. He whipped Leah to one side with his snake tail and said, Little fox, I was too good-tempered when I was in deep sleep. Did I spoil you? Don't need any other males? My son dug out his own gall to exchange for her life, and now he sacrificed his life to exchange for the two of you. Now you say that Gu Mengmeng doesn't need any other males? Ha! Leah was flung far away and he stood up while holding his chest. He had originally thought that this snake beast wanted to challenge Gu Mengmeng's partner to fight for the right to be his partner, so Leah was prepared to fight to the death. But these words, why did it sound different as he listened on? Gu Mengmeng also looked at Wales with a dumbfounded expression and asked carefully, You are little shit? Yeah. Wales responded in an extremely impatient manner, but after replying he felt aggrieved. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and said, Gu Tumeng, open your eyes wide for me to see. This is how I really look like. Do I look like shit? Do I? Ah. This fiery temper, yes, it was little shit without a doubt. Gu Mengmeng sniffled. She did not know why, but she felt so touched that she wanted to cry. She lost all the people who mattered to her in one day. And then on the same day, all the people who mattered to her came back into her life one by one. The joy of regaining something she had lost made her nose sting. Rubbing her nose, she laughed and retorted, You have to show your true form and roll up. Then I will know if you look like shit. Wales did not hesitate and directly revealed his original form, coiling up in front of Gu Mengmeng. He was no longer the same yellow as before. Instead, he was a silvery white, as if the 1,000-year-old ice on the Mota Mountains had formed on his scales. He was dazzling, elegant and cool. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like shit. It looks like lazy hair. It looks like McDonald's ice cream. It looks like white shit. Wales, who had just transformed into his human form, wanted to clear his name and tell Gu Mengmeng not to call him little shit in the future. In the end, he choked on Gu Mengmeng's last sentence. He pointed at Gu Mengmeng's nose and roared, Gu Mengmeng. Aside from the topic, everyone could see it, right? This was the end of the chapter. Everyone would accompany me to the end of the last journey, right? Chapter 1571. Gu Mengmeng hugged Wales and sniffled, saying, Little shit, congratulations on finally reviving. Wales was caught off guard by Gu Mengmeng's sudden sentimentality. He clicked his tongue and poked Gu Mengmeng's head in disdain, pushing her back into Elvis's arms, saying, How dare you hug me so casually in front of my female? Even if you don't want your face, I still want it. Gu Mengmeng laughed softly and nestled back into Elvis's arms obediently. After pausing for 2 seconds, Gu Mengmeng started to look around. Not seeing anyone else, she frowned and asked, Where's Gregory? Didn't you say that after Wales completely revives, he doesn't need to guard the Mota Mountains anymore, and can revive together with him? Where is he? Wang Xiaoxin pursed her lips and waved her hand lightly. A cloud of fog gathered and spread out, and another male stood there. The feathers growing upwards from his ears indicated his race. Gu Mengmeng didn't recognize this male, but she recognized his wings. Those ice-like wings had once grown on her shoulders. Gu Mingming instinctively turned around and adjusted her shoulder blades with force, realizing that the pair of wings had really disappeared. So the item had returned to its original owner? Little female, we meet again. That male looked at Gu Mingming with a cold gaze, neither angry nor smiling. This look was very familiar. When she first met Gregory, he also had this aloof and arrogant look. You are the bird that guarded the Mota Mountains for 1,000 years? Gu Mingming tried to figure it out and asked. The male nodded and said, I am Samuel, one of Xiaoxiao's males. I saw you at the peak of the Mota Mountains. I was entrusted by a little nestling to take care of you. Little nestling. Compared to the 1,000-year-old Samuel, the 10-year-old Gregory was indeed a little nestling. Then what about Gregory? Since you are already awake, why didn't Gregory come along? Gu Mingming asked. Samuel looked at Gu Mingming calmly and said after a long while, I stayed at the Mota Mountains to guard Whale's original body. Since Whales has revived, I naturally revived as well. But that little fledgling of yours isn't guarding Whales. Huh. Gu Mingming did not understand. Samuel glanced at Whales and replied, Fate is so similar. How Xiaoxiao treated you back then, this lass will treat your son the same way she treated you. And no matter what choice you made back then, your son will do the same. Everyone says that snake beasts are cold and indifferent by nature. Could it be that all the snake beasts' infatuation has been taken over by you and your son? You are also willing to split yourself into pieces and scatter in the beast world for 1,000 years to fulfill your lover. TSK, this is really touching. After Samuel finished, he turned to look at Gu Mingming and said, Mota Mountain is a volcano, do you know that? Gu Mingming nodded. She had seen Mota crying blood before, so she knew that the Mota Mountains were actually volcanoes. Chapter 1572. Gu Mingming lowered her body and said, So I can only wait. Wait until 1,000 years later, when someone accidentally transmigrated like me, and coincidentally, she is willing to help me gather the 7 treasures to save Snake and Gregory? Samuel walked behind Wang Xiaoxin, held her hand and kissed the back of it, saying, The messenger of the beast deity that you chose is not as smart as you. Wang Xiaoxin looked at him reproachfully, retracted her hand and pinched his waist, then walked to Gu Mingming's side and said, Do you really think that you accidentally transmigrated and then coincidentally gathered the 7 treasures? Gu Mingming was taken aback. She frowned slightly and shook her head instinctively. She could not figure out what was going on, but looking at Wang Xiaoxin's expression and listening to her words, she felt that it was not a coincidence. In this world, all coincidences are meticulously arranged by others. Wang Xiaoxin lowered her head and said bitterly, Ever since you met Snake, you have already pushed the wheel of fate that I set. From the tear of the beast deity to the kiss of the ocean, then to the other 5 treasures. Have you never felt as if there was a pair of hands pushing you forward, forcing you to do so? Gu Mingming nodded. Every time she went to search for the 7 treasures, it was rarely voluntary. The tear of the beast deity was forcefully given to her by Snake to save her. The kiss of the ocean was to cure Qishuan's poison. Every time, there seemed to be a reason for it. Just like what Wang Xiaoxin said, it was as if there was a pair of hands pushing her forward from behind. But, Snake is your biological son. How could you bear to part with him? Gu Mingming looked at Wang Xiaoxin in disbelief. She really could not understand. She clearly knew what Snake would have to face in order to obtain the tear of the beast deity. How could this mother be so heartless? Wang Xiaoxin did not seem surprised by Gu Mingming's question, so she smiled and replied, Don't you know? In the beast world, only one's partner is a family. Son. Ha, he is your male, a member of your family, not mine. As his mother, the only thing I can do for him is to try my best to win your favor, so I dragged you to watch television with me, to let you see how well he treats you. Just now, I tried to persuade you to give up on Elvis and Leah, to stay in the modern world and live with him. Unfortunately, your choice is not him. The root of his suffering is that he is not good enough, at least not good enough for you to fall in love with him regardless of everything. Gu Mingming's heart felt as if it was being crushed by a millstone. She shook her head and said, "No, you are wrong. There is nothing wrong with Snake. He is very good, very good. He's very good, so why don't you want him?" Wang Xiaoxin didn't answer but asked back. Gu Mingming choked and remained silent for a long while. Then she said plainly, "I will wait for him." She had a long 1,000 years to think about what kind of feelings she had for Snake. As for Gregory, she had to slowly think about how she was going to face the two of them after 1,000 years. Wang Xiaoxin didn't persist. She just nodded and said, "With these words of yours, I won't disappoint my silly son's infatuation." Chapter 1573. Gu Mingming could only watch as Wang Xiaoxin brought Wales and Samuel away like a cloud of fog. And Wales only left one sentence, "Gu Tumeng, take care," and disappeared with Wang Xiaoxin. From the time they met in the Beast King Valley to her departure after Snake's death and Little Shit's pursuit, they would be separated twice a year. Every time, Gu Mingming would feel a sense of reluctance to part. But this time, they would never meet again. Gu Mingming felt enlightened. Perhaps, it was because every time they parted, it meant that Little Shit had to face a period of loneliness alone. But this time was different. He had someone he loved by his side. They had waited for each other for 1,000 years, and their relationship was stronger than gold. Looking at the way Little Shit was looking at Wang Xiaoxin, Gu Mingming knew that even if they did not part, Little Shit would not have the time to care about her. Moreover, if Snake was resurrected after 1,000 years, to make him call Whale's daddy, they would probably have to fight until the sun and moon changed color. Gu Mingming leaned against Elvis's chest and hugged him tightly, saying, "Hubby, everything changed too quickly today. I feel like it's unreal, like I'm dreaming." Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's little face and said, "This is a dream realm, of course you're dreaming now." Gu Mingming looked around in a daze, nodded and smiled. "That's true, isn't it a dream? But hubby, if we wake up now you'll still be here, right?" Elvis grabbed Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, saying, "I won't do anything that makes you sad a second time." Gu Mingming then nodded, then held on to Elvis with one hand and Leah with the other. She closed her eyes tightly and the familiar feeling of falling made Gu Mingming's heart beat like a drum. Everything was stable, but Gu Mingming did not dare to open her eyes. The faint smell of blood told her that she had returned to the beast world, to the cave in the Snake King Valley. But, what if she opened her eyes to see a huge hole in Elvis's chest and Leah lying on the ground bleeding from all his orifices? Gu Mingming was trembling all over. She regretted it, she should not have woken up. Even if it was a dream, she should have fallen into a deep sleep in that dream. "Xiaomeng, open your eyes." A familiar voice used a short sentence to comfort Gu Mingming's uneasiness. She opened her eyes and stared at Elvis, then immediately shifted her gaze down to his chest. Heaving a sigh of relief, Gu Mingming smiled. "Thank God you're all right. Leah. I'm here." After Leah woke up, he immediately transformed back into his original form and cleaned up the terrifying bloodstains on his face. He was now in his half-beast form, swaying his large furry tail as he walked seductively. Leaning against Gu Mingming's knees, he propped his chin on his hand and said, "Xiao Mingming, I heard that only beast kings can enter that dreamland. Aren't you curious? Why am I there?" Gu Mingming paused for a moment before her lips curled upwards unknowingly. She looked at Leah and asked with a smile, "You?" Leah nodded. "Maybe you don't believe me, but Cole's tier of the beast deity is with me." Gu Mingming frowned, not understanding. Chapter 1574. Why would he do that? Gu Mingming did not understand. Her first reaction was, "He is already dead, what other scheme is there? How does he want to harm you? Does he mean that he will not let you off even in death?" Leah held Gu Mingming's shoulders with both hands to calm her down. He said calmly, "No, it is not to harm me. It is to help me become the Beast King and protect my heart. This is the last thing he did for you. He asked me not to say anything and I agreed, but he is still my biological brother. No matter how twisted he is, no matter how unbearable he is, at least this matter. I don't want you to misunderstand him. Gu Mingming lowered her head in silence and said, Cole, he seems to be purposely provoking me. Leah chuckled and asked, How did you think of that? Gu Mingming said, Before he died, he told me how to break the bewitching spell between him and Qi Xian. It was as if he wanted me to kill him without any worries. I was so angry at that time, but now that I think about it, it seems like he was purposely provoking me. Leah nodded and admitted, Yes, he's right. He is really gifted and blessed by the heavens when it comes to provoking your hatred. Gu Mingming hesitated for a while before looking up at Leah and asking, Did I kill the wrong person? No. Leah answered without hesitation. He hugged Gu Mingming and said, He was tired of living and only wished for death. Dying in your hands is already considered as seeking benevolence. Although to you he may no longer be a heinous person, but to others in the beast world, he is still guilty of many crimes. By killing him, you have gotten rid of a scourge for the people. Gu Mingming touched the position of her heart and said, But I still feel very uncomfortable. I did it because he killed you and Elvis in a fit of anger. But now that you two are fine and he is dead, I feel like I killed a good citizen by mistake. Leah thought for a while and said, Cole? Good citizen? It can't be. Although he had his reasons, it is true that he tortured me all those years. And Elvis's tragic childhood also has something to do with him. Qi Xian was separated from your own flesh and blood, causing you to cry so miserably. It is also true. Any one of them is enough to be a reason to kill him. Leah placed Gu Mingming into Elvis's arms and held her shoulders with both hands. He looked straight into her eyes and said, I told you what Cole had done not to make you feel guilty, but to make you not hate him anymore. I have hated him for more than 10 years. I know how painful it is to hate someone. I don't want you to experience this pain, so, since he is already dead, then all the past will be written off, and the past will be forgotten. Forgive him and let yourself go, okay? Gu Mingming nodded slightly and said, All right, I don't hate him. Let bygones be bygones. Good girl. Leah smiled and nodded. Then he kissed Gu Mingming's cheek and said, There's one more thing that I have to tell you in advance. What? Leah and Elvis exchanged glances before he slowly opened his mouth and said, The 7 treasures have been gathered and the doors of time and space have been opened. So the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky in your body are all gone. You don't have the powers of a beast king now. Just like when you transmigrated here, you are just a weak little female. So if you meet with anything in the future, you cannot rush forward anymore. You have to hide behind Elvis and me obediently, understand? Aside from the topic, this was Cole's last wish, but he could not get it. He wanted Gu Mingming to love him, but Gu Mingming did not love him. He wanted Gu Mingming to hate him, but Leah did not allow it. He wanted Gu Mingming to remember him, but how long could a stranger who did not love or hate him remember him? Chapter 1575. Gu Mingming tried to release her pressure, and there was indeed nothing left. She chuckled and said helplessly, All right, the image of a grown woman is not suitable for me. Moreover, my 2 men are already beast kings. What's the use of pressure? Li's mood improved slightly when he saw that Gu Mingming was not disappointed, but there was a more important problem. That was, the love of the sky is also gone, so you will definitely be in a lot of pain when giving birth to this child. So, Gu Mingming clutched her stomach and glared at him. I won't say anything else, but if you dare to have any ideas on my stomach, I will fight you to the death. He knew it would be like this. Leah sighed helplessly and said, I know how much you treasure this child. How would I dare to have any ideas on her? What I want to say is, can't we see the situation of your era in the illusion realm? Since you are a beast deity now, can you send me into the illusion realm too and let me learn some childbirth-related medical skills? This way, when you give birth, your pain can be reduced to the greatest extent. Gu Mingming finally relaxed when she heard Li's words. She nodded slowly and said, Oh, if that's the case, you should have said so earlier, you scared me. Leah poked Gu Mingming's little head and said, You didn't even listen to what I said to Elvis. We already said that we will not do anything that would make you sad a second time. Gu Mingming knew that she was being too petty, so she smiled and said, How could that be? I've taken your words to heart, really. Little liar. Leah scolded her, but his eyes were smiling. At least, she kept her promise of not abandoning them. As long as she did this, they would not mind how many times she lied to them about other things. Considering Gu Mingming's health, Leah did not immediately enter the illusion realm again, but started to cook first. Once they entered the illusion realm, they would unknowingly be in it for a few days, and Gu Mingming was pregnant now, so she could not be hungry. No matter what, he had to let her eat her fill first. Elvis placed Gu Mingming by the fire pit, intending to enter the cave to clean up and dispose of Cole's corpse, so that Gu Mingming would not feel uncomfortable. But once they entered the cave, they realized that there was not even a trace of blood on the floor, not to mention Cole's corpse. Elvis frowned and called out, "Leah." Leah did not understand, so he put down the spatula in his hands and walked in. Seeing the situation in front of him, he exclaimed, "Eh." Although Gu Mingming was against it, and did not want to see Cole's corpse, she could not resist her curiosity and followed in. A small tree grew where Cole's corpse was originally placed. It was about half the height of a human, and its leaves glowed with a strange light, like cold jade. Gu Mingming placed her fingers on it lightly. The feeling was so familiar. Soul of the forest? Gu Mingming blurted. Elvis and Leah looked at each other for a moment and nodded. This is Snake's old residence. It's only natural for his soul to return here. It seemed like Cole had become nourishment for the soul of the forest, and was completely absorbed and digested. That's right. Why would someone like Snake allow outsiders to stay in his cave? That's good too, it's a clean break. Lee's hand also lightly touched the trunk of the small tree. He smiled and nodded. But the soul of the forest is a treasure. It cannot be seen in the next 1,000 years. Now that Snake and Whales are both gone, this Snake King Valley, who will guard it? Aside from the topic. Chapter 1576. I haven't thought about it yet. Let's talk about it when the time comes. Anyway, there's still some time before winter ends. Gu Mingming stared at the little tree in a daze. She couldn't tell if this little tree was Snake or Cole in her eyes. Shaking her head, Gu Mingming said, "Let's go out. This room shall be his room." Elvis and Leah didn't have any objections, and just carried Gu Mingming into the cave outside. Without the powers of a beast king, Gu Mingming's ability to withstand the cold plummeted. Leah had no choice but to light a few more braziers in the cave to keep her warm, while Elvis and Leah took turns to warm her abdomen in their original forms. This warmth lasted for an entire winter. Gu Mingming's abdomen didn't grow after that time, and remained at the same level as her chest. This made Gu Mingming a little worried. After all, she had killed someone and transmigrated. This torment. She didn't know if this child was still around. If she died in the womb. The little fellow in her abdomen seemed to have sensed her mother's thoughts and didn't want to die, without knowing why, so she moved her little feet helplessly, reminding her that she was still alive. This made Gu Mingming feel much more at ease. Elvis and Leah, who were always on tenterhooks but didn't dare to say anything, also calmed down. The snow that sealed the entrance of the cave was scattered from the outside. Gu Mingming was a little surprised. This was the Snake King Valley, and no one should know that Whales had already left. Moreover, she had entered with great fanfare before winter arrived. In the eyes of the people in the beast world, there should be 3 beast kings, Gu Mingming, Cole and Elvis, as well as 2 5th-level beasts, Little Shit and Leah, guarding this place. Attacking the Snake King Valley at this time? Wasn't that the same as entering the toilet with a lantern? Seeking death? Elvis carried Gu Mingming while Leah instantly flashed his sharp claws in front of Elvis. He had his usual faint smile on his face, just like a mask. But when they saw who it was, everyone was stunned. Tixian? Why are you here at this time? Gu Mingming jumped down from Elvis's arms and walked to Qixuan's side. She patted the snow off his body and said with some heartache, "It's almost winter but the snow hasn't stopped. It must be very cold. Don't tell me something happened to Zacharias?" Tixian shook his head and remained silent for a moment before saying, "Something happened to him, right?" Tixian didn't understand. Cole. Tixian stared straight at Gu Mingming, waiting for her answer. Under Qixuan's gaze, Gu Mingming nodded. I killed him. Qixuan's expression was indecipherable. He just hugged Gu Mingming and said, I knew this day would come. But Mum, I still feel very uncomfortable. Qixuan. Chapter 1577. He was the one who told me that it doesn't matter if I hurt others or myself. The bottom line is to not let you cry. So when you cried, I knew I was wrong. I would rather brandish my claws at him, bare my fangs and ignore my reliance on him than let you shed a single tear. Qixuan hugged Gu Mingming tightly. He frowned and said to Gu Mingming, Mother, you don't know, right? When I resolutely abandoned him and returned to your side, he looked at me with approval and pride that he had never shown before. I clearly saw the message. You are indeed the Qixuan I raised in his eyes. How ironic is that? The person you hate to the core is admiring an ingrate who abandoned him for you. Gu Mingming patted Qixuan's back lightly and said, Sorry, Mother has made things difficult for you. Qixuan shook his head and said, You are my mother. You are always right. Gu Mingming sighed and did not know what to say. Mother, where is he? Can you let me see him one last time? Qixuan's tone was pleading. Gu Mingming nodded and led Qixuan into the cave. She pointed at the small tree and said, He is here, he has merged with this small tree. Qixuan knelt by the tree and kowtowed 3 times. I am not fated to call you Father Beast, but I still thank you for raising me. I will take good care of my mother and will never let her cry because of me again, so, don't worry. Just as he finished speaking, a leaf floated down from the tree branch and landed between Qixuan's brows. In the blink of an eye, it sank into his skin. This, Gu Mingming was puzzled. Leah leaned against the entrance of the cave and could not help but laugh when he saw this scene. All right, don't bother thinking about it anymore. He has already chosen the person guarding the soul of the forest. What? No, Qixuan is only a 2nd-level beast. How can he guard it? Gu Mingming was really worried. Once the news of the soul of the forest being here was leaked, the beast world would be in chaos. Gu Mingming could not be at ease leaving Qixuan in such a position. Leah chuckled and asked, Have you forgotten how much effort we had to put in to obtain the soul of the forest in Zacharias? Elvis and I almost died there. In the entire beast world, how many could match up to Elvis and I in battle? But Gu Mingming was still worried. Qixuan hugged Gu Mingming and looked at the little tree. Mum, you were afraid that he would lead me astray in the past, so you didn't let me near him. Now, I'm afraid that he won't have the chance to mislead me anymore. So let me accompany him. Take it as repayment for his kindness in raising me. After all, I'm a wolf. Not repaying kindness isn't the style of our wolf clan. As Qixuan spoke, he looked at Elvis, as if waiting for Elvis to speak up for him. In the end, Elvis shrugged his shoulders and laughed coldly. There's no use looking at me. I'm afraid of my wife. Qixuan looked at Elvis with a speechless expression and said, You're really acting so righteously. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming and raised his chin. I'm afraid of my wife, but I'm proud. Gu Mingming pinched Elvis, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Don't spout nonsense in front of the children. Chapter 1578. Gu Mingming shook her head and gently caressed Qixuan's little face. My son has grown up and has his own views and sense of right and wrong. I can no longer impose my own subjective views on him. Mum. Gu Mingming held Qixuan's little hand and patted it. Little Xian, go ahead and do what you want to do. Mum supports you. Qixuan didn't expect Gu Mingming to be so easy to talk to. He felt very uneasy and even thought that if Gu Mingming cried because of this, he would immediately surrender. No matter what he thought, he couldn't let his mother cry one more time. But his mum actually said she would support him this time. Thank you, Mum. Qixuan hugged Gu Mingming tightly. The turbid air that had been pressing against his chest for a long time was finally released at this moment. The family of 4 enjoyed about 10 days of warm time. On the 11th day, the snow sealing the cave had completely melted. This meant that winter was over. Although Gu Mingming was still the saintess of the snake tribe, without Snake's protection mark, She could no longer command the snake tribe. The members of the snake tribe still respected her, but they would no longer gather around her. So, as the snake tribe awoke from their hibernation, they gradually swam out of the Snake King Valley. Without words, their instincts told them that their Snake King and that demigod had already left. Without the Snake King Valley, they would only become a target for everyone, a piece of juicy meat in everyone's eyes. If they did not leave, they would not have the ability to protect themselves. But this was also good. This way, they would no longer have to worry about news of the soul of the forest being leaked. Let's go too. I still need to go to a few more places and arrange for some people to guard the 7 treasures. Gu Mingming snuggled in Elvis's arms. She placed one hand on her stomach, and the other gently tugged at Qi Xian smiled, as if he was a child who had grown up overnight. He was mature and steady, not letting Gu Mingming worry. Mum, let me send you out. Yeah. Gu Mingming still could not bear to part with this son. But since she had already said she would support him, she had to learn to let go. After leaving the cave, Gu Mingming was a little stunned. She could not believe everything in front of her. This was practically Zacharias in the past. Crimson vines had covered the entire valley at some point in time. They looked tender and beautiful like fire, but they exuded a dangerous aura. Gu Mingming's hand that was caressing her tummy tightened. Back then, Elvis and Leah had almost been wrapped up into 2 silkworms, and she had risked her life to save them. Now, not only did she lose the tear of the beast deity, she was also pregnant. How was she going to get out? Leah easily saw through Gu Mingming's thoughts. He tapped Gu Mingming's little nose and said, "Snake's blood is hidden in these vines. Do you think he would hurt you?" Gu Mingming was taken aback. She walked down from Elvis's arms doubtfully and reached out to touch the blood-colored vines. A small string of blood vines wrapped around Gu Mingming's wrist gently and carefully, following the back of her hand to wrap around her ring finger. Then, the vines broke and blood flowed onto Gu Mingming's ring finger. Within a breath's time, the blood had seeped into Gu Mingming's skin, forming a red tattoo. It was in the shape of a small snake, coiling around Gu Mingming's finger like a ring. Chapter 1579. He said he would only propose once, and that meant it. Even if she did not agree, he still put the ring on her finger. There was no other communication, but Gu Mingming could hear Snake telling her in a tone that did not allow anyone to interfere. "Hold on to this mark for now. Wait for me to come back and put the real ring on your finger personally. If you dare to take it off, I will kill Elvis and Leah." She walked into the area of the blood vines boldly. Indeed, the once vicious vines were now as obedient as domestic pets. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and said, "Winter has just ended and the ground is cold. You are pregnant. Don't walk off by yourself." Gu Mingming did not struggle. Her body was much weaker than when she had the tear of the beast deity, so she stayed in Elvis's arms obediently, resting her little head on his shoulder. She smiled and asked, "I still remember that time in Zacharias. That blood vine cut my palm and only stopped attacking when it touched my blood. Do you think it was because little shit is close to me and recognized me, so he showed mercy?" Leah sneered and replied, "Before Wabi awakened, his memories were completely separated from Whale's. How could he recognize you? It should be because you have snake's blood in your body and he recognized his own son, so he stopped." Gu Mingming pondered for a while, then nodded in agreement and said, "Then when the next messenger of the beast deity comes, won't it be very dangerous? Snake's bad temper. He even beat up his own father for over 800 years. The vines rustled, not knowing if they were unhappy that Gu Mingming said Wabi had a bad temper, or that Gu Mingming said Wabi was his father. Anyway, they were very unhappy. Gu Mingming stuck out her tongue and laughed, saying, "Don't say it if you don't want to say it. Why are you so fierce? I am pregnant and can't take scares. Don't scare me, I will cry." The vines instantly stopped. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, "I never expected that you arrogant beast kings would actually cower in the hands of a little girl like me. Haha. Why do I feel a sense of satisfaction from a vile person?" Leah poked Gu Mingming's little head and said, "You also know you are a vile person? You only know how to use your tears to scare us. But just say it. If you really dare to cry, I won't forgive you. Gu Mingming smiled sweetly, and was not angry at all. She snuggled back into Elvis's neck, her mood exceptionally good. When they reached the entrance of the Snake King Valley, Qixian stopped in his tracks and said, "Mom, I will take over the stray beast camp as the stray beast young master. My original territory had been snatched away by Kanwu, so I couldn't possibly fight with my own younger brother over the territory. Nor was I willing to leave the Snake King Valley, so I would move the stray beast camp outside the Snake King Valley. The valley is guarded by the blood-red vines, and I will lead the stray beasts to suppress the situation outside. It will definitely be safe. As for the new messenger of the beast deity that you're worried about after 1,000 years, let's leave it to fate then. I think you don't have to think too much about it. Moreover, Snake is more anxious to see you than anyone else. If it was really someone you sent, not only would he not make things difficult for you, he might even take the initiative to pluck that tree and send it to them." Gu Mingming thought about it. Indeed, this was something Snake would do. Hugging her own son, Gu Mingming reminded him, "No matter what happens, don't bear it alone. You still have 3 brothers, your father the Wolf King and Daddy Leah the Fox King. Most importantly, you still have a mother who is the beast deity. Understand?" Digression. Today's update has ended. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.